Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Move with Momentum podcast. Bruce and John are with you again. We have a topic today that comes from a lot of conversations that we have with agents in our market. What we find is there's some common themes of either, when an agent approaches us to start engaging us and maybe joining us, we find that they're running from something or they're running to something. And we kind of find some commonalities between what agents are running from and what they lack at their current brokerage, which is why they're looking. So I want to bring up some of those points and some of those common themes that we see, John. Like in your experience, like talk about, you started a brokerage, then you moved brokerages to another big box brokerage, and then now obviously Momentum. Like, what was the progression of your history with brokerages and what were you lacking in each one?
Oh boy, man, you don't even want to get into the conversation about brokerages because it is pathetic out there what some of these brokerages are offering. I mean, so just to give you guys an idea, I came in my first year, did $12 million in sales at a brokerage and paid $44,000 in commissions to the broker. I had just virtually zero support, zero market knowledge. I had to figure out everything on my own. And when I started hitting my ceiling of achievement on my own, I needed to figure out, like, there's got to be another way. Like, someone's got to know something that I don't. There's people out there doing a little bit more than what I was doing. You had 66 units for 12 mil plus. And I was like, there's other people out doing more. What are they doing? So I started reaching out and up saying, I want to continue to grow. So where can I go do that? Well, there's brokerage in our market. It's number one brokerage in the country. And they basically are like, well, you need to build a team. Well, the issue with that is that the local leadership didn't really know how to do it. They had never done it themselves. They have never recruited. Yes, they had the paperwork and they had the best practices that you can read in a book, but that is totally different than actually listening to somebody who has built a team. How can you teach about something you know nothing about in the real world, like how it actually works? Everything you know is from a book. Versus this group GoBundance that I joined that has a bunch of millionaire entrepreneurs that they don't self-identify as millionaires. That just happens to be the standard to get into the group. So there's a certain level of conversation, and these guys are like, when they give you advice, they're talking from stuff that they actually did. Like, they actually built a company, hired 100 people, have made $1 million, has lost $1 million. Like, they've made those hardcore mistakes and learned those lessons. Versus just a brokerage that's reading from a book that was written by somebody 10 years ago that's barely relevant to today's market in some regards, or at least the models need to be updated. So it's one of those things where you want to make sure that the validity of the people that you're moving to is there, because if it's not, you're going to get more of the same, and it could even be worse for you than just staying freaking put at the brokerage you're at. So I see this again. I talk to some agents. They're like, well, this person has great marketing. Okay, you can pay for marketing on your own. You do realize this. You don't need to pay somebody $350 a month to have them do the marketing for you, or whatever it might be. You could outsource all that yourself and not have to pay 36 to 40% of your commission to the broker because they're doing an activity that's $15 an hour. I don't think agents are doing the math. I still think, we put on this podcast, like, do the math, follow people who are valid. They don't care. I think they're going where their friends are going, or they heard it was better. The grass is greener over there, but they're not getting what they actually need. So what we have happen is, like, people make a move and they're like, I thought it was going to be this. And then literally a week later, they call or text us and be like, I thought there was going to be somewhere else that was going to give me what I wanted, and it sounded really sexy, and there were a lot of gimmicks that you guys weren't offering. It's like, yeah, because those gimmicks are just that. They're gimmicks. They're not real. They're not freaking real, but you fell for it, and we told you, hey, don't fall for this, and you did anyway, and now you're wanting to join us. So it's one of those situations where, everybody's got to learn for themselves. I know we're putting out a lot of content about, like, check validity. Here's the questions to ask to see if somebody's valid. But, some people have to go out and learn on their own. Unfortunately, it's far too common. There's an easier way. There's a proven path out there that can basically solve all of your problems from people who have done it themselves and are not reading it just from a book.
So it sounds like when you joined your first brokerage, I mean, you had the hustle. Like your whole story in real estate is all about hitting the ground running, doing the groundwork, putting out those terrible flyers that you mentioned that are terrible, but they worked, right? The point is like your pain point was that there was no one for you to learn from. There was no one doing more than you where you started. So what you were running from is lack of knowledge. What you were running to was looking for knowledge. Right. So then you jump brokerages, you were trying to find that. So that was your pain point. So like, what are some other common pain points that you see? And that's what it boils down to, is these themes are pain points. Like, what are you running from? What are some other common pain points you have encountered in recruiting conversations that seem to come up a lot?
Yeah, so I would definitely categorize this into like producers and low producers. Like a low producer, I don't even want to have those pain points, because it's just like, how do I get out of bed in the morning? How do I time block? How do I find motivation? How do I figure out what's my big why? Like, you should be burning up every single morning, being excited at how am I going to serve somebody. And those people who act that way, like, we just released a podcast today about Martina Jordan, who's a mentee who came in and sold 12 homes in like 3 months and graduated from the program in record freaking time. What did she say? She said, I didn't get in for money. I got it because people told me I should get into this industry because I care about serving people. Guess what? Through good service, you get money. Because basically people are voting with their dollars and handing it to you, saying like, that was good service, I'm going to give you another referral. You deserve to have success. You deserve to get to the next level. They're voting with their dollar. But that's a base level conversation. When you're talking about people who already understand that this is a service game and it requires a specific type of individual that's going to be uber responsive, right? We can break down what does service mean. But the reality is, when you're already a top producer and you're in that shoes when you're doing 8 to 12 to 20 mil, the number one conversation that you start to have is, my lifestyle is not sustainable.
Yep.
That's the number one pain point. Guess what? You can moonwalk your way out of the roles and responsibilities that you don't like to do. You're not going to learn that from somebody who's reading a book to you, because they don't actually know. They don't know what the struggle is like. And by the way, I've been part of coaching companies. I've been a coach myself. I was one of the youngest coaches, led by some of the best leaders in the country. And I was in a room full of people, and I was the only one that was like producing at the level that I had. And I was like, how are you guys allowed to be coaches? You have no real experience. Now, you might argue with me, well, just because you have the experience doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. And while that's true, you're going to be able to relate way better to that person and give them way more sound advice if you have actually accomplished what they have accomplished. Like, you can't read a book. I mean, you can read a book on climbing Mount Everest, but it's going to be written by the guy who actually climbed Mount Everest. You want to take the advice from the guy who actually did it, not somebody who didn't do it and is reading it to you. And then that's your leader. Isn't the person who wrote the book. It's the person who's reading the book to you. It makes no sense to me. So if you want your lifestyle sustainability back, we have all the systems, processes, scripts, everything that you can possibly imagine. And just so you know, for the people listening, in 2018, Brittany and I took one whole practically quarter off out of town in Northeast Florida, and still gross commission income, which is revenue, $1 million. And we were living a really big life. We were traveling to Lake Tahoe. We did our baby moon. We were traveling to Costa California. I mean, we must have gone on like 8 or 9 trips that year, which to most people, they can't even relate to that conversation. And we were running $1 million business in our 3rd year in business. You can do it. You have to have systems and processes and scripts and the know-how, and we'll give you the playbook so you can do it, because we want everyone who's in our world to have a really big life.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you saying is that agents are running from brokerages who, the leadership are teaching them things that they've never done themselves, right? Why would you take diet advice from someone who's 300 pounds? Why would you read a book about climbing Mount Everest from someone who has never done it? So it's like, they're teaching you to leverage, which is what the conversation here is, leveraging out those low dollar amount activities, but they're teaching leverage and they haven't done it. So then, to summarize, the main pain point is they're still looking for knowledge, and their lifestyle is not sustainable, and they need to go somewhere to manage that, or they're going to burn out and lose their business, right? Ultimately, that's what's going to happen.
I've great agents burn out and get out of the business, or they make their money and they get out because they don't break through, right? You have your foundation, which is your skills and activities, which is like the basic. You have concentration, which is your systems and process. And then, by the way, you get to the momentum phase, which is the third step to mastery. Most agents fail there, where they're doing 3 to 4 deals a month. They don't know how to break through because they don't know how to hire. They don't know how to train. They don't know how to lead. And they go back to square one and their business looks like a roller coaster. And if you're listening to this right now, there's a way to break through, which makes your business completely sustainable. And that's the leverage phase. And then after that, you get into mastery, which is really starting to teach and train other people what you have done. And then by teaching is the ultimate accountability for you to retain that information. And by teaching, you actually become a better business owner yourself. So it's funny that a lot of people are like, I've got the secret sauce. I have the secret this, secret that. Guys, it's all out there. You have to listen to the right people because there's a lot of noise, right? And we talk about this today. There's more noise in the world than ever. Anyone with a social media account can post up there, oh, I'm selling a bunch of homes. And by the way, it could be the same home over and over again with the front of the house, middle of the house, back of the house. It's BS. It's total ego stroking. It's disgusting to me because now you're basically faking it and you're not helping anyone, and you're certainly not helping yourself, because what would happen if those were actual results that you were getting and you were letting people know your actual results and people are going to see it? Because the public is a lot smarter than you think. I think a lot of people are like, oh, they won't know. They won't be able to tell the difference. Everybody knows everything. This is not, we're not in a population that's not educated, that can't see things, that you can trick them and get away with it.
So the number one reason people are leaving brokerages, top producers, you believe is an unsustainable lifestyle. I know you said that let's not talk about this, but I think that is a very small percentage of, number one, our listeners, and number two, the people who are actually out looking. So what are the more common ones? So I have a list here. So let's read it. So they have pain points. They don't know where to get business. I can't tell you how often I hear that. They want leads. They want the silver bullet to their business. They lack accountability, which someone doesn't necessarily come to you and say, we have a couple agents who have, but they don't necessarily come to you and say, I need accountability. But they need someone to hold them to what they say they do. But how they become successful in the first place? Is it just their personality's gotten them there, or just like, we see people who are very disorganized and don't know their numbers very commonly. So not having systems, not having accountability, and not knowing where to get business is a great summary of the most common things that I see in recruiting that are pain points. Like, speak to that a little bit.
I see it's hard for me to relate, Bruce, and I'll just quote Kobe Bryant here. It's like, I don't even relate. We don't live in the same world as some people. Some people are just lazy. They don't put in effort. They don't get out of bed. Like, if you're not going to win and do everything you possibly can to achieve, like, why would you get into sales? Go stay in corporate and be a W-2 and go work for somebody else who's going to be the entrepreneur and make the big bucks. Because my mentor always told me, you're the owner, you're owned. Okay. So you want to own assets. You want to own your business. You want to own all these different things. And so, like, if you don't know where to get business, like, you probably should not be in sales. Like, I don't know how to explain this any other way. Or maybe you should join a team. So the team can go get the business and you become a servicer. Just know you're not going to make the big bucks, and that you get to be okay with that up front. So you just need to fit, like, if you are a high achiever, and you have to even ask that question, because when I came into the brokerage my first year, I was like, I'll do anything to get business. I said, what are the top performers doing to get business, right? That's where you start. You study the people who are at the top of their game. Like, this is not rocket science here. Every business is exactly the same. The same way you run your real estate business, same way that a restaurant runs their business, the same way that a retailer runs their business. Okay. It's all the same. You have a physical location. You go out there and market. Like, if there's a restaurant that's failing, you go out to all the cars in the community and you put little coupons in, trying to give them a value add, right? There's a marketing piece with a value add that has a hook to it. Says, come in, your first time, I'll get you a free dessert. We'll take care of you. You get them in your place. You give them such amazing service that they're like, holy smoke, the food tastes good. The service was amazing. I'm going to come back and bring all my buddies next time. And they gave me a free dessert. And they said, if I bring my buddies, they'll get a free dessert. And if they do that, I'll give you even a little bit of a discount too. And all of a sudden everybody's eating at this restaurant because they're getting repeat customers. And then the waiter's saying, hey, wouldn't it be like, did you have a good experience here? Yeah. Okay, well, cool. Open up your phone and write me a review on Google so everybody else can know about the experience that you had with me today. Guys, this is not complicated. It's not, but you have to put the work in. So here's the disconnect. The people that you're referring to that I cannot relate to, they wake up late, they stay up late, they don't have a system or a structure or any habits in their life that are productive for them. They don't work out. They have no system or when they're watching Netflix like nonstop. I don't judge you if you're doing that. That's fine, but you're not going to be a top producer. So don't say you want to be a top producer and then not show up with the effort behind that, because you're just wasting everybody's time. You're wasting everybody's time. Just admit to yourself, you know what? I'm a W-2. That's cool. Like, and that's okay. Like, there's no judgment around that. That not everybody is going to be a fit for being an entrepreneur, but recognize in what they say in Think Big, which is one of the books that I'm really excited about, that Tiger 21, the founders of that group, basically wrote. And it's basically know thyself. That's the first lesson in the book. Know thyself, know your own strengths, know what you can do, know your abilities. And if you're not one of those people, then attach yourself to one of those people and help them become the best version of themselves using your strengths. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I was going to push back when you said you can't relate, because there are people who have all the intangibles of being successful, but just don't know how. And so your advice to them, and you were to answer this, is to go find someone who's doing it, attach yourself to them. And we've had this conversation before, but like, just because you have pain points of not having a system, maybe you don't know what system you need to have. But you can learn it from someone. But you're right, though. If you don't have the humble, hungry, and hustle, it's very, very possible. Those are the people you're speaking about that you can't relate to. That's correct.
There's such a low barrier of entry to real estate. And there's like 80% of the agents are onesie, twosie agents. That's what I call them. They're low producers that sell houses to friends and family. Why? Please get out of the industry. You're making it harder for everyone to do their job and to elevate the level of service that the population deserves. Get professional photos, act like a professional, answer your phone, respond to emails, study your craft. Come on. And I'm really disappointed with, honestly, like the MLS and all the standards. I got my license in a week, Bruce. Meanwhile, you're allowed to manage somebody's largest financial transaction of their life, generally, is their home, is their real estate agent, and you can get it in a week. How does that make sense? This is really poorly managed for the state of Florida, and I know it is across the United States either, and I'm disappointed in the leadership from the National Association of Realtors and all these other organizations that are really putting these basically no standards in there to increase membership so they can get money. So they basically traded their soul for money to get more people in the industry. And guess what? 67% of buyers and sellers don't trust real estate agents. And they're right. The public is usually right. And by the way, like, they have seen right through this. And that's why, there's some agents out there that are absolutely crushing it because they provide good service, like the people that are from the financial backgrounds or the people who come up customer service background that love giving an experience to somebody. And then you have the rest of the 95% of people who literally just do it for money or do it, I don't know why. Like, it doesn't even matter. Or they don't put the energy or effort in to actually make something happen. And I think we're all worse off for it. The whole population is worse off for it. And when that happens, that opens the door for technology to replace them. And that's where you see the Zillow and the realtor.com and all these other companies coming in and being like, if you guys are going to continue to be crappy at your job, I'm going to come in and do it through technology, and the consumer is going to thank me for it.
Yep. And that was part of our podcast episode last week, was the future of real estate, the bundle and the technology coming in and innovating. So like the conversations that we have, and for our listeners, like, that was a little bit of a John rant, which we always get to see at least once an episode, which are very valuable.
I'll hold back for the rest of the show. So
no, that's a good place to leave it. But like, I know there are agents that are listening to this, people that are out there, and I hope that they're listening, because I truly don't think they know what they lack to get to success. I take a little bit of a different approach than you do about, like, you can't connect. Like, I have enough conversations with these people. It's like, they don't know what they don't know yet. So given the right tools, given the right mentor, given the right leadership, given the right activities, they could take off. I think that's a really valuable conversation for them because it'll give them step one to try to find it. And it's just, again, we keep arriving back at this in these conversations. Find someone who's done it, attach yourself to them, and learn from them, and you'll be successful.
Well, a lot of people will say they will do it, Bruce. That's the noise, right? They're like, they'll post like, I did this. Oh my gosh, I'm so amazing. This. And then you find out that they're broken on the verge of bankruptcy. So like you have to check validity. So it's not as easy as just saying like, oh, go find somebody and study them. You might be studying somebody who honestly sucks and is doing it backwards. So how are you able to tell the difference? And if there's one skill that you could possibly learn in your life in the internet age is to be able to figure out who to follow and who to not to follow and why, who is valid and who is not valid and why. And by the way, time always tells because it always shows up. There's always a light that is shown, and basically there's transparency over time. And so you don't know until you find out, and it might be too late for you. But the problem is you only got one life and you don't have unlimited time. So you need to learn how to, I'm serious here, Bruce. I know you're laughing at this, but you have limited time. And who you choose to use that time with is the most important thing. And how do you know who to use your time with is by asking extremely deep and uncomfortable questions to realize whether or not this other person that's across from you is real or not. And so when you say the conversation is about where to get business, not to get business, you should already be, if you're the type of person, you wouldn't get into the industry without a freaking game plan. Okay. Because when I got into the industry, what did we do? We said, okay, Mayport's up here, Mayo Clinic's right here. We live right here. If there's a recession, there's jobs there that people get paid. There's a deep water port right here. This is an average price point. This has condos. This has townhomes. This has $1 million homes. I've got every single product in this little area. I did a business plan. When we moved to Florida, we did a business plan. We wanted to go somewhere that had growth and had opportunity and where we could pick ourselves up, which was a medium fish in a gigantic pond in Washington, D.C., the Super Bowl of economics, pick myself up and become a big fish in a medium pond because of our education level and because of our work ethic. Right? Sometimes you have to move for growth and find out where you're going to arbitrage. And that's what we did. So none of this was on accident. Nothing that we have done. Nobody gets to the top of the pyramid and looks down and says, how did I get here? They know exactly what they did. They turned here. They realized they need to go left and then they need to climb here. They went over that rock. Here's how they climbed over the rock. They know exactly what they did. And so we can tell you what we did and you can follow the same path or you can go make up your own path on your own. And I don't understand why you would do it on your own when you have people that are more than ready, willing, and able to answer your call and help you with whatever issue you have, regardless of where you are in your business model. And I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the room. I could probably only get you to this point, and maybe you want to go to this point, but I can at least connect you with the person who's up here because I know them now. Does that make sense? And I will help support you, lift you up from here, put you here, and then, but you have to put the effort in, right? That's the only thing I can't do for you. You have to actually go out and execute what we teach. And then if you're here, well, I'm continuing to rise up. So you're going to have to grow faster than me, which would be really cool. I would love that. Please, if you want to grow faster than how fast we're growing, reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you. And then we can reach and then get you in touch with people that are worth 30, 50 mil and have those conversations. And again, it's not all about wealth. It's about wealth in all areas of your life. But the pain point for those agents who are top producers is lifestyle. And I can speak to that because we have done it ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, John, thank you for sharing your expertise. And this is yet another chapter in our ever long search for validity. And who knows more than us and growth and success. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your expertise. So let's leave it at that. We're going to have another awesome episode next week. Let's tease it. We don't normally do this. Let's tease it. We're going to talk about Tribe of Millionaires. We're going to talk about the mentality. We're going to talk about the themes in that book. And I want you to talk about how it's changed your life. But for the listeners out there, let's tease an episode for them and see if we get some interest generated. So John, thank you for joining me for this week. This is the Move with Momentum podcast. Until next time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.